Self-avowed white nationalist Richard Spencer is facing serious allegations in a divorce filing by his wife. He has been married to her since 2010 and they have 2 small children together. Her name is Nina Kouprianova, and in the filing she alleges both mental and physical abuse, and she also provides evidence in the form of text messages to corroborate her claims against Spencer. So there are a number of things, and I'm gonna go through most of it, but you should read the investigative piece that was written by BuzzFeed. It's in BuzzFeed News. And again, this is all based in the divorce filings, which also includes documents, text messages that corroborate her claims. So she alleges that Richard Spencer physically abused her, including instances where she was being hit, being grabbed, being dragged around by her hair, being held down in a manner causing bruising, and being prevented from calling for help. She has been reluctant to call police or seek an order of protection for fear of further reprisal by Spencer. Much of the abuse has occurred in the presence of the party's children. Spencer also kept a loaded weapon in his bedroom that was accessible by children after he was assaulted in public on the day of President Trump's inauguration. So she specifically mentions that in the divorce filing because she felt that his public behavior drew negative attention and threats toward herself and her family. And the fact that he kept a gun made her feel even less safe, especially since the kids had easy access to it.
So he said in his counter response that, oh, she's just dragging the kids into this, as he sometimes apparently literally dragged her across the floor and down a flight of stairs by her hair. But anyway, he says she's dragging and bringing the kids into this when they were in the other room. Oh, what a defense. Oh, the kids were in the other room as you were assaulting their mom. Okay, I didn't know you had that good a defense.
So we're going to show you some of the documents that she provided that prove that some of these incidents did in fact happen. They're exchanges between herself and Spencer. Now, documents also claim Spencer was verbally abusive to their children's babysitter, including in front of their children, where he allegedly called the babysitter effing sub-mediocre human being and also effing moron.
So he's a white supremacist. So the idea that he might call someone a sub-mediocre human, does that ring a little true to you? Well, that's what he does for a living, is call people that. So, I mean, I can't imagine that he's shocked and chagrined that somebody would say that he would say something like that. He says it publicly all the time.
He does, yeah.
About other races. So is he monstrous enough to say it to people he knows?
So this next part reminded me a lot of Gavin McInnes, because Gavin McInnes, when he speaks about women, he claims women love violence, women love to be beaten and treated this way. They love to, get that type of treatment from their partners. And so according to these allegations in the divorce filing, Spencer's favorite statement to his wife was, "The only language women understand is violence." He also allegedly told her, "I'm famous and you're not. I'm important and you're not."
You're famous for being one of the worst people in the country. But that's the state of our society and culture now. It doesn't matter. He's like, yeah, but at least I'm famous. I mean, I'm famous for hatred and fear and loathing, but I'm famous. And so that makes me better than you. That's his way of, he says that to his wife.
So let's get to some of the very physical stuff. So she talks about how early on in their relationship, she was at home, she was very sick, and he became physically abusive toward her. She says in the filing, "I was very sick with the stomach flu, could not keep food or water down and wanted to stay in bed recovering. Spencer wanted to watch a movie downstairs and did not take no for an answer. He dragged me out of bed by my arms, legs, and hair, dragged me down the stairs and threw me onto the couch. The incident resulted in bruises." There are photos, she provided photos of the bruises as well. BuzzFeed did not publish those photos. And to prove or to corroborate that this incident did in fact happen, she provided an exchange between herself and Richard Spencer. And it starts off with her saying, "Yeah, apart from seeing the bruises on my wrists and knees from yesterday's adventure down your staircase that you sent me on, the trip went without major incident." And they go back and forth about it. Also in 2012, Spencer had me down on the ground, smashing my head into the floor. I remember feeling ashamed that the neighbors might hear what's going on. And it just goes on and on. I mean, this isn't everything. The full BuzzFeed report includes more incidents from the divorce filing. But look, anytime celebrities or public figures or politicians, anyone in the public world is going through a divorce, obviously you want to read those documents in a very skeptical way because divorces get ugly. But Richard Spencer doesn't hide who he is. And she does provide evidence corroborating these incidents, so.
Look, yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. My wife's in a profession where she deals with divorced people all the time, and boy, it gets brutal. And so, and not everything is true, and take it with a big grain of salt, et cetera. And remember, she married Richard Spencer, and she said at one point, ethnic cleansing is a very heavy loaded term. There's some recent examples of fairly peaceful separations. Okay, so now having said that, who's telling the truth? And by the way, I should also know one more caveat. I actually don't agree with the judge. And the judge said that the public has an interest in knowing this and it outweighs your privacy. I'm not really sure why.
No, disagree. You know why I disagree? Because the media talks to people like him all the time as if they're legitimate individuals with legitimate opinions that should be spread in news reports. We need to know who these people are, right? I mean, people like Richard Spencer, yes, there's been ample reporting talking about his white nationalism and all that, but he has influence. He has some level of an impact in the country, and I think that we should know who he is.
No, I understand that. I don't know why we're necessarily getting to people's private divorce proceedings, though. So I just feel his public statements, et cetera, are open game. But I mean, look, there's a case to be made on both sides. In the Alex Jones divorce proceedings, which I was also uncomfortable covering, we did find out that Alex Jones said, oh no, it's all an act. I don't really mean any of it, I'm just an actor. And so don't take my kids away because, of course, I'm not that crazy guy you see on air. I'm just trying to make money. Right, and so, well, that's relevant. On the other hand, guys, they're trying to, I don't, see, this is a problem with liberals like me, right? Goddamn Richard Spencer, right? He's a white supremacist, I can't stand the guy. I'm still trying to be fair to him and then lunatic Alex Jones. But it's about their kids and they want to keep their kids, so.
Speaking of being progressive and liberal and this particular incident, Facebook has removed his website, his ability to speak in a public forum. I'm not so sure how I feel about that. I mean, the ACLU years ago defended the Nazi Party right to demonstrate in Skokie, right?
Yep.
And that becomes an issue as well. I mean, up to the point of inciting violence, which he might be guilty of, that's another story. But until that happens, freedom of speech has to be protected from all sides. But I wanted to jump on to what you had said earlier about her statement, ethnic cleansing is a very loaded term. But right before that, she says, in my understanding, these comments are about a theoretic future, a dream for people of European descent, per se, not concrete policy suggestions for contemporary United States. And it's the pattern of apologizing for statements and for positions that are violent and incendiary and many of us would feel were wrong. And the president does it all the time, and his people then say, oh, he was only kidding. Very relevant to today's bombing attempts, where it does have an effect on people. This guy has an effect on people that's dangerous. And it's interesting that his wife found a way in all of this to still kind of apologize for it.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah, and so GoDaddy, when they took down his site, said he had crossed the line and encouraged and promoted violence in a direct and threatening manner. So they didn't do it lightly, and they hadn't done it earlier, to your point about when he was speaking out saying, we should separate the races and et cetera, and even generalized violence. Gavin McInnes, the founder of the Proud Boys, nonstop calls for violence. And he giddily expresses it in terms of, hey, it's general. I didn't direct it at any one specific person, so it's not illegal, but make sure you go out there and do violence. So there are monsters like that out there, and so in order for these companies to take action, they need it to be direct violent threats, right? And they apparently crossed that line as well. So now finally, as to who's telling the truth, not only did she have pictures of some of the bruises, and she saved some of the texts she had sent him.
He apologized.
Yeah, but he
said, "I'm sorry, I feel terrible."
She said in one of them, "To be perfectly honest, I'm not ready to converse with you after what you've done. My jaw's bruised." He writes back, "I understand, I'm sorry, and I feel terrible." So it's clear he did it. And it's almost amusing and ridiculous that we're having a conversation about whether a neo-Nazi like white supremacist who actively encourages violence would be violent toward his wife. Of course he would, right? So
I remember, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I remember it was at some point last year, there were a group of women who had decided that they wanted to support this cause. And out of nowhere, they decided to start speaking out against the way they were being treated by some of the men in this group. That the men were being very disrespectful to them.
In the alt-right community.
In the alt-right community specifically. Yeah, what did you think was gonna happen? Did you think that they were gonna treat you as if you mean something to them? Of course they're gonna treat you like second-class citizens. But hey, I mean, you think that your skin color is more important than anything else. So go ahead and side with the people who openly, brag about abusing women.
Let's be clear, though, abuse of women is pervasive on all sides of political
No, it is.
spectrum.
It absolutely is. But I'm saying, look, of course it is. But with the alt-right, I mean, they don't hide the fact that they see women as second-class citizens.
Yeah.
In all of it, let's just hope that she gets what she needs and stays safe and gets out of there.
So that's what I wanted to mention too, which is that, look, it's tough to sympathize with somebody who says, I married Goebbels, but I didn't know that he was gonna be violent towards me, right? But at the same time, we have to be. And it's super important to treat everybody the same. And if she's, whether it's divorce proceedings or she brought a criminal case, she's still a victim of violent assault. And so it is our job to protect her as a society, no matter what she thinks of the white ethno-state, et cetera, right? And no matter who she married. So he attacked her when she was 4 months pregnant, when she was 9 months pregnant. He dragged her down a flight of stairs by her hair. What kind of a monster does that? The same kind of monster that thinks that white people are superior and should rule over other minorities and oppress them.
One final thing that I do want to mention, the reason why I also think it's important for this to be public is because oftentimes when they use violent rhetoric and get criticized for it, they'll turn around and be like, oh, I would never do anything violent. I can't believe anyone would accuse me of that. And then behind the scenes, this is what goes on. They practice what they preach, okay? They're not speaking in codes. When they tell you who they are, believe them.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.